What is your heart rate per minute? 60, 70, 80, maybe 90? There's something you've been told for years. Your doctor told you if your pulse is between 60 and 100 per minute, don't worry, that's completely normal. You saw the same thing on the screen of the blood pressure monitor at the pharmacy. 60 to 100, the green zone, safe. But what if I told you that these numbers are actually killing you slowly? What if I told you that this so-called normal range is extremely dangerous, especially for people over 65, and dramatically increases the risk of heart attack, stroke, and early death? Today, I'm going to tell you one of the biggest lies in the medical world. This range from 60 to 100 was established over half a century ago, and since then, it has hardly been questioned. But science doesn't stand still. Research hasn't stopped. And today, the data we have clearly shows that this range can be a death trap, especially for older individuals. As someone who has been following this topic for years and has evaluated thousands of patients, I want to tell you this: a pulse of 90 is not normal. A pulse of 85 is not acceptable. Even a pulse of 80 could put you at risk. The real number is much lower. And by watching this video to the end, you will learn exactly what your pulse rate should be, why it is so critical, and most importantly, the concrete steps you can take starting today to bring your pulse rate into the safe zone. But first, you need to understand this. Where did this 60 to 100 range come from? Who decided on it? And why is it still used? This range was established in the 1950s and 60s. During the period when electrocardiography (EKG) devices began to become widespread. Based on observations made at that time, it was determined that the heart rate in the general population was roughly within this range. Note that this was not a healthy range, but an observed range. So doctors looked at people, counted their pulses, and said, most people's pulses are in this range. This was not a health goal. It was merely a statistical observation. And this is precisely where the big misconception begins. Just because something is common does not mean it is healthy. Today, the vast majority of society is sedentary. The vast majority is overweight. The vast majority is under chronic stress. The vast majority are poorly nourished. Measuring these people's heart rates and saying, the majority is here, so this must be normal, is like setting a health standard based on a sick society. It's like saying 70% of society is overweight, so being overweight must be normal. No, what is common is not normal. What is common is just common. And now I'll tell you the really scary part. There is a large-scale cohort study published in the European Heart Journal that followed tens of thousands of people for years. In this study, researchers examined the relationship between resting heart rate and the risk of death. The results were striking. Individuals with a resting heart rate above 75 beats per minute had nearly twice the risk of cardiovascular death compared to those with a heart rate below 60. Twice. Even 75 is dangerous. Don't say 85 or 90. Even 75 poses a risk. Another study conducted in Copenhagen, which followed thousands of men for over 20 years, revealed even more striking results. Men with a resting heart rate above 80 beats per minute were found to have a 60 to 70% higher risk of death from all causes compared to those with a heart rate between 50 and 60 beats per minute. Consider a 70-year-old man. His pulse is 82. His doctor tells him, it's normal, don't worry. But research says this man has a much higher risk of death than his peer with a pulse of 60. How is this a contradiction? And it's not just about the heart. A high resting heart rate is a sign of chronic inflammation in the body. It's a sign that your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight mode, is constantly active. It's directly linked to metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, diabetes, and obesity. Some studies even show that a high resting heart rate increases the risk of dementia and cognitive decline. So your pulse isn't just a number showing how fast your heart is beating. Your pulse is a mirror of your body's overall health, and this mirror is trying to tell you something. But you're not listening to it, because your doctor told you it's normal. So what should the real number be? For a healthy individual over 65, the ideal resting heart rate should be between 55 and 70 beats per minute, 55 to 70. not 60 to 100. Note that even the upper limit of this range doesn't reach the middle of the traditional range. And if your heart rate is consistently above 75, that's a warning sign. If it's above 80, that's a serious alarm. If it's above 85 or 90, that's an emergency situation requiring immediate intervention. No matter what your doctor says. Now, I need to make a very important distinction here. I'm not telling you to panic if your pulse is high, and I'm definitely not telling you to ignore your doctor. No. Be sure to talk to your doctor, but do so armed with knowledge. Ask your doctor. Doctor, my resting heart rate is 82. Studies show this is associated with an increased cardiovascular risk. What are your thoughts on this? What can we do? This is not rebellion. This is conscious health management. Now let's get to the really important part. There are concrete, scientifically proven steps you can take to bring your heart rate into the safe zone, and I'll list them for you from least to most effective. But know this, even the least effective one can make a difference on its own. And when you apply them together, the results can be truly transformative. Let's start with number 5. Number 5, breathing exercises and diaphragmatic breathing. Now, this may sound very simple. Breathing? I already breathe. Yes, you breathe. But how you breathe changes everything. In modern life, most of us breathe with our chests. Short, shallow, rapid breaths. This type of breathing keeps your sympathetic nervous system, your stress system, constantly active. And when the sympathetic system is active, your heart rate increases. It remains chronically elevated. Diaphragmatic breathing or abdominal breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system. The parasympathetic system is the rest and repair mode. When this system kicks in, your heart rate slows down, your blood pressure drops, and your stress hormones decrease. Here's what you need to do. Apply this technique at least twice a day in the morning and evening for 5 minutes each time. Breathe in through your nose for 4 seconds. Feel your stomach expand as you breathe in. Then, breathe out slowly through your mouth for 7 seconds. Repeat this. 4 seconds in, 7 seconds out. It is critical that the exhalation is longer than the inhalation. This is because the exhalation phase triggers parasympathetic activation. In a study conducted in Italy, participants who performed 10 minutes of controlled breathing exercises per day saw their resting heart rate drop by an average of 5 to 7 beats within 6 weeks. 5 to 7 beats, without taking any medication, without any surgical intervention, just breathing. But the biggest mistake people make is this: they only try to do it during stressful moments. I take deep breaths when I'm stressed. This doesn't work. Because during stress, your parasympathetic system is already suppressed. You need to train it, just like a muscle. If you practice regularly during calm moments, your system will automatically engage faster during stressful moments. So it's not an emergency tool, it's a life practice. Moving on to number 4. Number 4, optimize your magnesium intake. Magnesium is a mineral that plays a role in over 300 enzymatic reactions in your body. But its most critical role for our purposes is this. Magnesium is the primary mineral that allows the heart muscle to relax. When your heart contracts, calcium comes into play. When it relaxes, magnesium does. These two work in balance. But with modern diets, declining soil quality, stress, and certain medications, your magnesium levels may be chronically low. And when magnesium is low, your heart muscle cannot relax sufficiently. It contracts more frequently and more forcefully. Your pulse quickens. The vast majority of people over 65 are deficient in magnesium. But standard blood tests may not show this. That's because only 1% of the magnesium in your body circulates in your blood. The rest is inside your cells and in your bones, so your blood test may come back normal, but your cells could be starving for magnesium. What should you do? First, focus on magnesium-rich foods, dark green leafy vegetables, especially spinach and Swiss chard, pumpkin seeds, almonds, dark chocolate with a cocoa content of 70% or higher, avocados, legumes. But it can be difficult to get enough magnesium from diet alone. In this case, magnesium supplements may be considered. However, be aware that not all forms of magnesium are the same. Magnesium oxide, the most common and cheapest form, is poorly absorbed in the intestines. It relaxes your intestines but doesn't pass into the bloodstream sufficiently. Instead, choose magnesium bisglycinate or magnesium taurinate. The taurinate form is especially ideal for heart health because taurine is an amino acid with heart protective properties in its own right. A meta-analysis published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that daily magnesium supplementation reduced resting heart rate by an average of 3 to 5 beats and slightly improved blood pressure. And this effect is much more pronounced, especially in individuals with initial magnesium deficiency. A word of caution. If you have kidney disease, be sure to talk to your doctor before taking magnesium supplements. The kidneys excrete magnesium from the body, and if kidney function is low, magnesium can build up. Now we come to number 3, and from here on, things get really serious. Number 3, manage your chronic stress and improve your sleep quality. Let me ask you something. How many hours do you sleep at night? And more importantly, do you feel rested when you wake up? A large proportion of people over the age of 65 experience sleep problems. Frequent nighttime awakenings, waking up early in the morning and being unable to fall back asleep, light and shallow sleep, and many accept this as a natural part of aging. No, poor sleep is not a natural part of aging. Poor sleep is a problem and needs to be addressed because poor sleep is one of the most powerful factors that chronically raises your heart rate. During sleep, your body enters repair mode. The parasympathetic system becomes dominant. Your heart rate drops throughout the night, reaching its lowest levels. This drop is a sign of a healthy heart. But if you don't get enough quality sleep, this repair window closes. Your sympathetic system remains active even at night. Your stress hormones, especially cortisol, remain high. And the next morning, your pulse already starts the day high. Moreover, poor sleep affects not just your pulse, but everything. It increases insulin resistance, it raises inflammation markers, it increases blood pressure, it makes weight gain easier, and all of these indirectly raise your heart rate even more. A vicious cycle. So how do you break this cycle? First, follow the basic rules of sleep hygiene. Your bedroom should be dark, really dark. Even light seeping through the curtains can disrupt your melatonin production. The room should be cool, ideally between 64 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Why, stay away from screens at least an hour before bed. Phone, tablet, television. The blue light emitted by these devices sends a daytime signal to your brain and makes it harder to fall asleep. Second, establish a routine before bed. Go to bed at the same time every night. Take a warm shower before bed. This lowers your body temperature and triggers sleep. Cut out caffeine after noon. Most people think caffeine's effects last an hour or two. No, caffeine's half-life is 5 to 6 hours, so half of the coffee you drank at 3 p.m. is still in your blood at 9 p.m. And third, and perhaps most importantly, manage your stress during the day. Chronic stress keeps your cortisol levels constantly high. When cortisol's high, your heart rate doesn't slow down. It's that simple. Meditate, take nature walks, socialize, pursue hobbies, listen to music. A garden, whatever calms you down, do it. But do it not as a luxury, but as a health intervention. A study at Columbia University reported that in individuals over 65 who participated in an 8-week mindfulness program, resting heart rate dropped by an average of 4 beats, sleep quality improved by 30%, and perceived stress levels decreased significantly. 4 beats, with sleep and stress management without medication. Now we move on to number 2. And this is the one many of you won't want to hear, but it's the one you need most. Number 2. Regular, moderate aerobic exercise. Let me be clear, I'm not telling you to run a marathon. I'm not telling you to lift weights at the gym. For individuals over 65, the most powerful natural way to lower your heart rate is through regular, moderate aerobic activity. Why? Because regular aerobic exercise strengthens your heart. A stronger heart pumps more blood with each beat. A heart that pumps more blood needs to beat less often. It's that simple. Your heart works more efficiently, and your resting heart rate naturally drops. Have you ever wondered why professional athletes have a resting heart rate of around 40 to 50 beats per minute? Because their hearts are so strong that they can pump the blood the body needs even at 40 beats per minute. You don't have to be an athlete, but even strengthening your heart a little makes a big difference. What should you do? At least 5 days a week, walk briskly for 30 minutes a day. By brisk walking, I mean a pace where you can talk to someone next to you but not sing. This is your moderate exercise zone. Walking too slowly isn't enough. But running too fast isn't necessary either. That middle ground, that sweet spot, is worth its weight in gold for your heart health. If walking causes joint pain, swimming or water walking is an excellent alternative. Water supports 90% of your body weight, putting almost no strain on your joints, but your cardiovascular system works just as hard. Cycling is also a great option. It can be stationary cycling or cycling outdoors. But the biggest mistake is this: people exercise very intensely 1 or 2 days a week and remain completely inactive the rest of the time. This weekend warrior model doesn't lower your heart rate. In fact, sudden intense exercise can even be dangerous for an unaccustomed heart. What matters is frequency, consistency, a little every day, not just once a week. A comprehensive meta-analysis published in the British Medical Journal showed that regular aerobic exercise lowers resting heart rate by an average of 7 to 9 beats. 7 to 9 beats. That alone can move you from the high-risk zone to the moderate-risk zone, or even the low-risk zone. And now we come to number 1, the most powerful, most comprehensive factor that most people completely overlook. Number 1, your body composition and metabolic health. Now, listen carefully, because this is the main factor that encompasses all 4 of the other points and forms the basis for all of them. Excess body fat, especially visceral fat in the abdominal area, burns a silent fire in your body. Chronic, low-grade inflammation. This inflammation hardens your arteries. It creates insulin resistance. It raises your blood pressure. And it directly increases your heart rate. How? Visceral fat is not a passive tissue. It is an active endocrine organ. It secretes hormones. It produces cytokines. It releases inflammatory molecules. These molecules chronically stimulate your sympathetic nervous system. And when the sympathetic system is active, your heart beats faster. But it's not just about your weight. It's about your metabolic health, whether you have insulin resistance, what your fasting blood sugar is, your triglyceride levels, your HDL cholesterol levels, your waist circumference. All of these together determine your metabolic health. And if your metabolic health is poor, even if your body weight is normal, your pulse may be high. This is called metabolic obesity. Looking thin on the outside, but being metabolically unhealthy on the inside. And this condition is much more common in people over 65 than previously thought. What should you do? The first step is to eliminate processed foods from your life. White flour, white sugar, packaged snacks, ready meals, soft drinks, fruit juices. These rapidly raise your blood sugar, fuel insulin resistance, and increase inflammation. When your body takes these in, it goes into alarm mode. And in alarm mode, the heart beats fast. Instead, focus on whole foods. Vegetables, especially dark leafy greens and cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbage. Healthy fats such as olive oil, avocado, walnuts, and fish oil. High-quality protein, including eggs, fish, and legumes. Fiber-rich carbohydrates such as oats, quinoa, and sweet potatoes. And consider intermittent fasting. Narrowing your eating window to between 8 and 10 hours a day, for example, eating between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m., and consuming only calorie-free liquids like water and herbal tea during the remaining hours can dramatically improve your insulin sensitivity. When insulin sensitivity increases, inflammation decreases. When inflammation decreases, sympathetic activation decreases. When sympathetic activation decreases, your heart rate drops. Let me back this up with a study. A study published in the journal Cell Metabolism reported that participants who followed an 8-week time-restricted eating protocol, that is, intermittent fasting, experienced an average 5-beat decrease in resting heart rate, a 22% decrease in CRP, C-reactive protein levels, an inflammation marker, and a significant improvement in fasting insulin levels, a 5-beat drop. Just by changing meal times, no medication, exercise wasn't even mandatory in this protocol. Just when you eat. Now let's put it all together. If you implement these 5 steps together, the cumulative results are very powerful. a 5 to 7 beat drop from breathing exercises, a 3 to 5 beat drop from magnesium optimization, 4 beats lower from sleep and stress management, 7 to 9 beats lower from regular exercise. These 5 beats lower from metabolic improvement. Of course, these effects don't add up one-to-one because they interact and compound, but the total effect could be a drop of 10 to 20 beats. If your heart rate is 85, it could drop to 65. If it's 78, it could drop to 62. That's a huge difference. It's a life-saving difference. And now I need to tell you something else very important. Some of you may be taking medications that lower your heart rate, such as beta blockers or calcium channel blockers. These medications may be necessary, and your doctor prescribed them for a reason. I'm not telling you to stop taking your medications. Absolutely not. But know this, these medications manage symptoms. They don't address the root cause. They chemically lower your heart rate but don't strengthen your heart. They don't reduce inflammation. Insulin resistance persists. Your stress hormones remain elevated. The 5 steps I described above address the root causes, and over time, under your doctor's supervision, it may even be possible to reduce your medication doses. But make this decision together with your doctor. Never change your medication dose on your own. One more thing. You need to know how to measure your pulse. Accurate measurement is critical. Measure it in the morning when you wake up before getting out of bed. This is your true resting heart rate, not after getting out of bed, after drinking your coffee, or after climbing the stairs. In the morning, the moment you open your eyes, in bed, while still lying down. Place your index and middle fingers on the inside of your wrist at thumb level. Count for 30 seconds and double it, or count for 60 seconds. I do this every morning for a week and take the average. A single measurement can be misleading. The average gives you the true picture. Smartwatches and wristbands can also be used, but their accuracy can vary. If you use them, compare them with manual measurements from time to time. And finally, I want to give you some perspective. Heart rate is one of the most powerful health indicators you can control. You can't change your genetics, you can't turn back your age, but you can lower your heart rate. And when you lower your heart rate, you're not just protecting your heart health, you're protecting your entire body. A lower heart rate means lower inflammation. A lower heart rate means lower blood pressure. A lower heart rate means better sleep. And a lower heart rate means clearer thinking, better memory, and more energy. A lower heart rate means a longer and higher quality life. The 60 to 100 range is long outdated. Science has advanced. The data speaks for itself, and the data is very clear. Lower is better. Now I want to ask you a question. Measure your pulse when you wake up in the morning. After watching this video, make this the first thing you do tomorrow morning and write the result in the comments. Don't be shy. There's nothing to be embarrassed about because this is a starting point. This is the moment you take control of your health. Then measure it again in a month. After applying these 5 steps for a month, you'll be surprised by the difference. We support each other as a community here. I read every comment. I try to answer every question because this isn't just a video, it's part of your health journey. And you're not alone on this journey. If you found this video helpful, please like it and subscribe to the channel and share this video with your family, friends, and loved ones. Because right now, maybe someone close to you is walking around with a pulse of 85 or 90 beats per minute, and their doctor is telling them it's normal. By sharing this information with them, you might change their life. You might save their life. Stay healthy.